Hello and welcome back to the Skin Philosophy Edit. I'm Anna Louise Kenny and here with me today is Emma Bardwell, registered nutritionist and specialising in menopause. So welcome Emma, thank you so much for coming in. It's so nice to have you.
Thank you so much for having me.
So obviously at the moment nutrition is a huge talked about industry. Like there's a lot of stuff coming out on Instagram, there's a lot of exploring at the moment about how nutrition affects our body and that, and I love it all, but the reason why I wanted to get you on to talk to us about is because you specialise in helping with menopause through nutrition and other aspects. So how did you get into that side of things?
Yeah, good question. So previously I actually worked in advertising, and I got made redundant, and I just had 2 kids, and basically it wasn't really working for me anyway. So it was kind of like the impetus, I guess, that I needed to retrain. And I had been doing quite a few nutrition courses since I was probably, 25, 30. So I got made redundant when I was in my late 30s. And I just decided that that was the time that I was going to do it properly, retrain, get a registration, get accredited. So I did a 3-year course, and along the way, I guess I started to realise that I was going through perimenopause myself.
Oh.
Yeah. And I wasn't getting the help that I needed from my GP, and I ended up doing a ton of research, and you probably have heard this before, 10 years ago, it isn't like it is now. Everybody's talking about menopause, aren't they?
Yeah, well at the moment it's a hot topic.
It's hot. You cannot open a newspaper without seeing some kind of splashy menopause headline. So I was 42, so that's almost a decade ago. And I realised there was this huge gap. I'd done all this research, I was going through it myself. And I think what happens is you kind of attract you attract a certain type of client, and I seem to be attracting that type of client. So that's why I decided to niche in that area.
Okay, and so what were you noticing? Because I'm fast approaching that age as well, and it freaks me out, the thought, like honestly.
Don't freak out.
Yeah, I know, I think my thing is getting shorter and all of that kind of stuff, but like going into perimenopause, what were the signs, what was coming up for you that you started to go, okay, something's up?
Yeah, well, I think for lots of women, particularly in their early 40s, it's not on their radar. In perimenopause, which is the bit that I'm really interested in, which is that lead up to menopause. Menopause is just literally the last day of your last period ever.
Yeah.
And perimenopause is that lead up, and it can last 10, 12 years, sometimes, not always.
Yeah.
But it can be quite gradual at the beginning, and then it can really kind of ebb and flow, and it really kind of fluctuates. So I think a lot of women, if they're late 30s, early 40s, it's not something that they're thinking about. And so it's not really something that they are aware of.
Yeah.
But the things that I noticed first of all were insomnia, and the psychological symptoms.
Okay.
So people always talk about hot flushes and night sweats, don't they? That's the kind of poster symptom that everyone knows.
Yeah.
But actually, I think it's the psychological symptoms that are almost kind of more insidious.
Yeah. Like the forgetfulness.
Yeah.
The forgetfulness is terrible.
Yeah.
I see people going through that, and yesterday I walked up the stairs twice and I forgot what I was doing, and I was like, oh God, it's starting to, like, stuff like that, because you can't quantify, so you either think I'm losing it, and obviously like GPs, you go to GP and say I'm forgetting stuff, they're like, that's your age.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
cosmetic, it's fine, you know, it's not. So the forgetfulness, and anything else that other people would start to notice?
Yeah, so anxiety, loss of confidence. So I talk to lots of women who are really at the top of their game in terms of their careers, and suddenly they're not able to do the things that they could do, without thinking twice about it anymore.
Yeah.
There are those kind of vasomotor symptoms, so kind of night flushes, hot flushes and night sweats, things like that. Sometimes cold flushes too.
Yeah.
But changes in skin.
Yeah.
Changes in like vaginal dryness, things like that.
Yeah.
Weight gain around the middle.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah.
I mean, the list is long, right?
Yeah.
The list is something like, there's 34 official symptoms. I'd say there's probably more, I'd say probably double
Yeah.
in reality.
Yeah.
But like you say, it's really hard to kind of untangle what is just stress,
Yeah.
what is getting slightly older, what is
Yeah.
juggling maybe kids or elderly parents or,
Yeah.
a kind of high-flying career. It's really hard to know what's hormonal and what's just life.
Yeah. And so then you start to notice it for yourself, and then your clients started coming in. You were noticing that it was a lot with them. So where did you go from there to kind of develop like that knowledge, to start researching into it?
Great question. I mean, I never stop.
Yeah.
So I did that 3-year nutrition course, but then I am constantly doing CPD.
Yeah.
It never ends.
You see, that's the thing. This is what I try and teach the students, because sometimes people go, how do you know so much? And like every little thing you hear a client say, you take it and you go, okay, where is that coming from? Break it down, try and and refer it to something and connect it up. And if you're doing that, you can actually, from seeing like loads and loads and loads of clients, you can start to build your own little case studies that you kind of go, okay, I can see this continually happening. And it is a great way to constantly be analysing the clients, not just at the very front, but in depth.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's not always stuff that you can necessarily learn in a book.
Yes.
That's super important, obviously.
Yeah.
And I am very evidence-based, as I'm sure you are too.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's actually, like you say, it's kind of learning when you're face-to-face in front of a woman.
Yeah, exactly. So when you have these women coming in and then they're talking to you and they're thinking about going on HRT, and obviously HRT is amazing for some people, and for some people it is a bit of a struggle. So what do you have to kind of assist, what advice do you kind of give for us to assist with it or instead of it, or?
Yeah, you're right. HRT is getting a lot of airtime right now.
Yeah.
So we were just talking previously, it's kind of the pendulum has swung. We were terrified of it after the Women's Health Initiative study, which was 2002, and everyone came off it, and it was like nobody wanted to touch it. Now it's getting, I don't know why, but I think there are certain doctors maybe in the media who are really kind of pushing it.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of women are thinking, Christ, I've got this really bad FOMO. I feel like if I'm not on HRT, something awful is going to happen to me in terms of long-term health risks.
Yeah.
Now, I actually think HRT is brilliant, but it's not for everybody. And I know lots of women who have tried it and it just doesn't work for them. Or they've tried it and it's like, yeah, it's okay, but it's not everything.
Yeah.
So my kind of argument is always that actually nutrition and lifestyle, so things like exercise and sleep and all of those kind of pillars, they really need to be the foundations that you get right first, and then you kind of layer on top of it. Yeah,
okay, let's go into that kind of stuff, because I was listening to another podcast about the whole sleep thing. It's fascinating. How does that affect menopause?
You mean how does sleep affect?
Yeah.
So we've got these, you will know this, but estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, and what happens is that during perimenopause, the first hormone quite often to start to deplete is progesterone, and progesterone is used to create this neurotransmitter called GABA, which is our kind of calming, soothing, feelings of contentment, and also helps us to sleep. So it's when the level of progesterone starts to drop that we can find that we, start to get insomnia, or we wake up at 3. But of course, on top of that, if you know that you are, you've got this kind of hormonal chaos going on and you're dealing with lots of other stuff in life, which we all are, then of course, that can impact too. So I think there's a lot of women waking up. I tend to find that women fall asleep brilliantly, but they are waking up at 3 and catastrophizing.
I hate that. When you wake up and you're like, you cannot go to sleep and your brain is just going and going, oh my God. It's terrible how you can spin out of control during those hours.
It's always when you've got something I find quite important to do the next day too.
Yeah.
So I've just actually talked to this sleep consultant, all about CBTI, which is cognitive behavioural therapy for insomnia. So it's a specific way that you can almost like retrain your brain to deal with that catastrophizing, in the middle of the night. So it gives you lots of tools and strategies.
Okay.
But I think there's also, lots to be said for exercising.
Yeah.
A lot of us, when we start to hit perimenopause, can become, because we see changes in body shape, because we might have pelvic floor issues, because we're knackered.
Yeah.
A lot of us aren't moving as much as we were previously.
Yeah.
So it's about getting outside, making sure that you are physically tiring your body so that you are ready for sleep.
Yeah.
I think a lot of women are really kind of relying on caffeine and alcohol as a crutch.
Yes.
Am I speaking your language?
Yeah.
Me too. And obviously that doesn't help either.
Yeah, because there is a thing, that podcast that I was listening to, they were like, there's so many different elements that affect our sleep, but the biggest thing is to not stay lying there.
Yes.
And you, like, literally, so when lockdown happened, I've always slept amazingly, always. When lockdown happened, I would wake at 2:30, not go back to sleep for the rest of the day, night, like just not.
Yeah.
And this was happening every single night for, I think, 2 weeks or something like that. But as long as my body didn't associate bed with not sleeping, then it was fine. So I would get up, I would go do some work, watch TV, whatever. But like, once I kept my brain that bed was for sleeping, then it was much better habit. So then I could get back into sleeping properly afterwards.
Because once you start that association, that's when you get those long-term, 6 months, a year of proper full-blown insomnia.
Yeah.
Which is an absolute nightmare.
Yeah, it's horrible. It's
So you back on track now?
Oh, grand. Like,
Okay,
I
great.
haven't, it was literally the first 2 weeks, and then that was it. It was fine. I think like with a lot of people that were self-employed at that time, had their own business and they had to close it.
Yeah.
It's just going to be.
There was a lot going on.
I know.
And to sleep is a lot about routine, and we talk about getting kids into like a wind down routine, don't we? We're almost kind of fastidious about it with our kids, but we're not so good with ourselves. And I think lockdown was a great example of all routine went out the window.
Yeah.
And I think it had that knock-on impact.
Yeah. And how do you, just out of curiosity, TVs in bedrooms?
Oh my God, it's a no-no
exactly.
for me.
Yeah, because there is that thing of like the same thing again, associating watching TV.
Oh yeah, no, I could think of nothing worse.
Yeah, I know, but then other people think we're crazy for that. They're
Really?
like, how could you...
no, a lot of people do, don't
Yeah,
they?
yeah.
It's like the last thing they do.
Yeah, get into bed and watch.
But I tell you what I do, and this is everything that I tell my clients not to do, and that is I do have my phone in bed.
Yeah, I know, but you're like, you can't, like, what? You just
that
got to
last minute scroll.
So in regards with, say, menopause and nutrition then, so what would you find would help with it? Like, perimenopausal is starting to kick in, you've starting to get not so easy sleep, you're starting to get the body changes, forgetfulness. What do you think is good habits to kick in nutrition-wise?
Yeah, so there isn't a menopause diet per se, but I think the thing that I tell most of my clients to do is just try and adopt a Mediterranean style way of eating, which you would have heard about lots, But essentially it is reducing ultra-processed food.
Yeah.
It is lots of colour, lots of fibre, lots of plants.
Yeah.
Some dairy, some meat.
Yeah.
But lots of whole grains, lots of legumes.
Yeah.
Olive oils. We need the healthy fats for our brain, because our brain is 60% fat.
Yeah.
We need it for our skin too. We actually need it to make hormones. Hormones are actually made from fats.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that is the sort of what's like the substrate, like the thing that it's actually created from is cholesterol.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And so then that actually brings up something else as well, which is another that I'm going to quiz you on. The omega-3 versus omega-6 ratio.
Yeah.
Is that true? Should you be...
Such a good question. It's such a complicated one too. It's quite trendy now to be like, anti omega-6 and like anti-seed oils. And so definitely I think there's a certain school of thought that says that we consume far too many omega-3s now than we used to.
Yeah.
And that we should have a kind of 1-to-1 ratio, and it's totally off. And we have lots of omega-6s and not so much omega-3.
Yeah.
And omega-3 is super important because it's anti-inflammatory.
Yeah.
So I think there is something in it, but I do think that there is this real kind of everyone's vilifying seed oils, for example, like rapeseed oil.
Yeah.
And actually, rapeseed oil is, it is a source of omega-3 and 6.
Yeah.
But the issue with omega-6s is that they are found in lots of ultra-processed foods.
Yeah.
And so obviously those are the things that we want to be kind of reducing or even, omitting if we can. I think it's impossible fully, but those are things that we really need to be working on.
Yeah.
I don't think we need to be, panicking about ratios or anything like that.
Yeah, and it's that thing of jumping on, okay, we'll just look at seed oils rather than look at the actual processed foods that we're eating.
Precisely.
That will be like taking in the omega-6 and that, because there are some companies that are doing supplements and they're kind of going, oh well, you need this ratio, we'll test you, we'll send it off to labs, we'll come back and then we'll give you the right amount of omega-3s that you should be having. And I was just, at the time when I was listening to it, I was wondering, is it a bit gimmicky?
Well, I just think it's unnecessary. There's a real tendency at the moment to hyper-focus on certain ingredients or certain nutrients, and that's one example. And another one is, wearing a continuous glucose monitor.
So I was watching that on your thing as well.
Oh.
Yes, this is interesting, yeah.
And I think what's happening though is people are starting to be scared of food.
Yeah.
They're starting to get really fearful, which is just bonkers. And also I think it's unnecessary, It's unnecessary for the majority of people who've got a perfectly, efficiently working pancreas to be worrying about their blood glucose levels to that degree.
So people are wearing them when they don't
need to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and so type 1 diabetics are obviously kind of enraged by this because it's like, well, that's a lifeline for them.
Yeah.
And it's almost like a kind of trendy badge of honour that these wellness warriors are kind of sporting at the moment.
Yeah.
I think it's useful. I've worn one myself, if I'm being absolutely honest with you.
Yeah.
It's a really good insight into how your body reacts to certain foods, but it's just a snapshot.
Yeah.
And if you've had a really poor night's sleep the night before, then that will impact. How you've exercised that day will impact.
Yeah.
So to be honest, you will always go back to baseline if you're, not diabetic.
Yeah, but don't you think like this kind of way of is people want an answer and they want to know exactly, and that's why everything's extremes now. Or we need to have a ratio for 6 to, and I need to be eating this amount, and people, I think because everything, they lost control of like their life and how they live their, people want the right answers, only the right answers. They can't, it's black and white, and they want control back, and it's kind of putting things into boxes, and that's what they're doing with diet now. It's like, okay, you can't eat bread. Yeah. That kind of way, or you can't eat pasta.
It's so black and white, isn't it?
Exactly. And it's like, well, actually everything in moderation,
100%.
what suits you, everything like that. Yeah, it's funny the way it's gone.
Well, we want data, don't we? We want more and more and more. And actually what's happening is we're not getting the foundations right.
Yeah.
So, you just need to be having a balanced diet. And what you really, it's about what you're eating the majority of the time. What you eat on a single day, or even a week, or even a month, in the grand scheme of, the next 50 years of your life, doesn't really matter. It's those patterns that are the most important thing.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're overall general healthy, like some people will see me, if I'm teaching or something like that, they'll see me like eat a whole pack of biscuits. But like, because I'll be but it doesn't mean I'll eat a pack of biscuits every day.
Precisely.
Or even I'll do it one time, but then I'll have my fish and eat healthily the other time. So everything is a bit
It's a drop in the ocean.
Yeah.
Honestly, yeah. And also I think it's taking the joy, it's sucking the joy out of food.
Yeah.
And we have to remember that food isn't just fuel. It is about hanging out with your mates and, catching up with your girlfriends and, kicking back and celebrating.
Yeah, exactly. There was something else I saw on your Instagram, which I need to question you about.
Uh-oh.
The hot water and lemon thing.
Oh no.
Okay, so I drink hot water and lemon every morning. It's only because if I don't drink that, I drink coffee. So
Yeah.
first of all, it's to stop me doing that, to have some warm water in it as well. But I have noticed the teeth thing.
Have you?
Yes.
Has your dentist picked up on it?
No, I just noticed they're not as white as they were. There's like a little bit of so I was like, oh, and then I saw your post at the same time. I was like, damn it.
It's a sign.
Yeah. So what is your take? Well,
I think that post kind of summed it up, but it is, I mean, I like it too. It tastes nicer than water on its own for some people. So if it helps you to drink more water, great, squeeze some lemon in there. But I think what I was trying to get at was some people are like, kind of giving it this godlike status that it kickstarts your digestion. Your digestion doesn't stop overnight, otherwise you die. It's saying silly things like that.
Yeah.
And this kind of anti-caffeine, and you must, instead drink this hot water and lemon. It's like, no, not necessarily.
Yeah. I do like the taste of it, and it's actually from more having a flu and stuff that I got back into the habit of doing it, and I do like it in the morning. But I have fallen for that alkalizing thing.
Yes, that's another thing, isn't it?
So what's your view on this?
That's
in general?
nonsense.
Really?
There's nothing in it whatsoever.
Yeah.
And all the alkalizing, quote unquote, foods are, fruit and veg, all the things that we should be eating.
Yeah, just eating healthier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. I mean, on that line, so I think dairy often comes up as being acidic, doesn't it? There's like lists, and there's no kind of finite answers. It depends who you talk to about what's acidic and what's alkaline, I think.
Yeah.
Because it's, it's really a nonsense.
Yeah.
But lots of people are saying that dairy is inflammatory and dairy is acidic, and it's like, it's not at all.
Yeah.
It doesn't work for everyone.
Yeah.
But I think we're really kind of, we're losing touch with ourselves, our own bodies, because everyone is so bio-individual, and we are, people are trying to kind of make us buy this book or this diet or this program, this personalised program that involves, I don't know, a poo test and a CGM, wearing a CGM and all of these things. But actually, the most brilliant way to kind of go into personalised nutrition is to talk, really tune into your body. And I think a lot of us, particularly women around perimenopause, we lose touch with our bodies, actually. Yeah. So I think, we're overwhelmed and we're trying to look for answers from other people, whereas actually the answers are inside us all along. That sounds a bit cheesy. But it really is,
I agree 100,000,000%. I cut out, I've never had a problem with dairy. I grew up on a farm, I've had milk straight from the cows, but I cut it out. I just wanted to drink oat milk because it was sweeter. And I've noticed between that and taking kefir, I don't get the same irritating bloatness. Yeah. So there was obviously something with gut, and especially because I was getting rosacea. But the kefir milk is so good.
Well, and 70% of us do have a lactose intolerance. Yeah. So by all means, try it and take it out. And obviously that it's worked for you. It's interesting with you say kefir. Because it's fermented, it breaks down lots of the lactose. So lots of people who don't tolerate dairy very well can actually tolerate kefir or kefir really well. Yeah. Okay. So it's interesting, isn't it? And it's so good for you. Yeah. It's got all of those amazing probiotics in it.
Yeah, it really, I've noticed a difference in gut and bloatiness, in my rosacea, everything. It's really,
Do you make your own?
No. Can you make your own?
Yeah.
With what?
You buy the grains, you buy them online, and then you literally just add it to milk.
Really?
Yeah, that's what it is. It's live grains in milk, and then they kind of digest the lactose in the milk. And it goes slightly sour, doesn't it?
Yeah, because it is expensive to buy. It's like £2 or £3 for 2 days worth, because you can't drink it longer than 3 days.
Yeah, start making it. Honestly, it's so easy.
Okay.
That's your homework.
We'll see when. Okay, so for you at the moment, you're doing a lot with menopause and everything like that, and with nutrition and that. You brought out a book, and I started to have a glance through of it, but I haven't had a read. It does look very interesting on it. What made you bring out the book?
So it's called the Perimenopause Solution, and like I say, that's the turbulent time that I think doesn't get talked about enough. Menopause, you know, is just the last day of your last period ever. But it's that kind of build up to it that I think we really need to educate women on.
Yeah.
And that was the key. That, you know, that was the reason for kind of pitching it in the first place. And also I wanted to get to women younger so that they didn't get to menopause and feel like they would, you know, they'd fallen off a cliff.
Yeah.
And that those symptoms had kind of taken over their lives. I really wanted to get to women much earlier so that they could be, and I always say this, but, you know, basically they could be prepared rather than scared.
Yeah.
So they know what's coming.
Yeah. Oh, I'm scared, yeah.
Don't be scared. Honestly, you're going to be fine. Read the book.
Yeah.
You know, I think as well now, I mean, 10 years ago it was very different.
Yeah.
I think now women are more educated, they're more empowered, they know what's going to happen or what might happen.
Yeah.
And it doesn't all have to be doom and gloom by any stretch.
Yeah. Isn't it what they say that it's what your mother's similar?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, particularly if your mum had an early menopause, it might be genetic, and, you know, there might be some kind of correlation with you.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely worth asking her. But I mean, my mum was like, menopause, doesn't exist. Because that generation just, you know, it was very hush-hush. Yeah. And I think we were all like, well, you were an absolute nightmare, actually, Mum. Looking back.
I was fine through it. No, you weren't.
It was hideous. Have you spoken to your mum about hers?
No, no. It's the same concept. It's like, oh, I never even noticed. Well, we noticed. Yeah. You know, I don't remember going through it. Yeah.
It was hideous.
When. Yeah. So yeah, I think it would be this. I think it will be the same. It'll be. It will be. I'll have to reach the age and just kind of.
You will be fine.
Oh Lord.
You will know what to do. You've got lots of different options.
Yeah.
You know, and I think lifestyle, diet, obviously, kind of you got that nailed in already.
Yeah.
For my so I'm 51. My generation were real cardio bunnies. You know, we were really into aerobics and running and pounding pavements and things like that. I think now women are much more tuned in to kind of, you know, not so high octane type exercise. They know a bit more about self-care. Yeah. They're more into yoga and Pilates. Hopefully they are strength training, so building muscle. I think that's super important.
Really?
Yeah, I really do.
How?
Well, I think for body composition, it's massive. Yeah. And I think that's why a lot of women who do a lot of cardio suddenly find it's just not working for them anymore. Yeah, okay. So basically, the more lean muscle you've got, you know, you're more of a kind of fat burning machine to a degree. You know, it's not massive, but it certainly helps. And I also think, you know, lots of women will say they feel really invisible and they kind of almost shrink into themselves. Yeah, in lots of different ways. Yeah. And I think building muscle and kind of feeling a lot more strong, it almost helps them to take up space. Yeah. Mentally and physically. Yeah, and confident-wise, because when you feel better about yourself, you take up more space. Yes, you stand up, you know, you look people in the eye, you're not so concerned about the wrinkles and the, you know, the kind of other aesthetic type of things that are happening. Yeah, and so with your clients that you've been speaking to and that, have you come across or have you seen good, bad, in between, or what your thoughts are on bioidentical hormones? Versus body? Yeah. So I am a member of the British Menopause Society and I refer my clients, if they want to talk to a menopause doctor, obviously I refer them to a GP, but if they want to talk to a specialist, I will refer them to a private doctor. And so we only deal with body identical. So, you know, ones that you are prescribed via the GP. Okay. Because they are, they are scrutinised, you know, the dose is all totally above board. Whereas with bioidenticals, it's not always the way, and they are compounded. You don't necessarily know what's in them. Or, you know, with the dose, it can differ from dose to dose, whereas, you know, you get a patch from your GP, you know exactly what's in it. Okay, cool. And so your future projects, what are you building towards? So I have just launched a community, a menopause community called the M Collective. It's about 2 months old, but it is really thriving already. So I'm spending a lot of time on there, talking to my women. We do lots of masterclasses. I get guest speakers in.
Yeah.
Who could come and talk about skin? Because it's such a hot topic.
Yeah.
Women are worried about their looks and their, the changes that they're seeing.
Yeah, well, obviously because there's such pressure on them nowadays. Yeah. Like there's such pressure. If you talk about you're suddenly, because it turns. You wake up one morning and suddenly there's more lines there. That it doesn't like gradually happen. There is a fright, and then you're getting compared to people who are like, younger, plumper, firmer, all that kind of stuff, and it is scary. Like, I know appearance is superficial in some people's eyes, but appearance is also socially more acceptable. And it's terrible, but that's the way the world is. People look at you and judge you on your appearance, and it's like how you feel about yourself. Like being in this industry, the clients that come into me that are like feeling really bad about themselves, that maybe the husband had an affair or something like that, and if I can make them feel better by doing skin treatments and stuff like that, that's what it's about. And like I do notice there is that 45 up where you're just like, oh God, help me, because the world isn't so nice out there, and I need to feel better about myself. And I think if you can, why not?
100%. There is nothing wrong. I'm all for it. Do whatever is available to you that you want to do. And there is nothing wrong with wanting to look good, look radiant, look healthy. Oh my God.
Not fake, but...
No, although I know lots of people that are going down that route, but you don't have to.
Well, see, the thing is so I've had everything done. Everything. I know, don't look at me like that. I swear to God, I've had every single centre of my face has some sort of fillers or Botox in it at some stage in my life. I've tried everything. I've done all the laser surfacing, fractional radio frequencies, everything. The key is you just don't go crazy, and you do it for the reason, like, okay, so me getting rid of lines, yes, amazing, and also researching, like trying out stuff. But if you're doing it because you're not happy within yourself, you'll fix that area and then you'll go on to another area. And then you'll go on to another area, and this is how you end up looking fake. Like really,
you don't know where to stop.
Exactly, because you're trying to fix something that's internal, not physical. And I think the biggest things with Botox and fillers is you can have them really well done, really nicely, good doctor, good nurse, definitely they can be done well. But if it's inner confidence, you need to go to a therapist. You need to help inside, because it's just going to end up worse on the outside.
But to flip that on its head, I know lots of women who have, and I'm including myself in this, a smattering of Botox, a bit of, some procedures here and there, and actually it gives them a little pep.
Oh yeah, it's brilliant.
I'm all for it.
Botox is amazing.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it's just a thing of like, to give yourself a boost, not to fix a problem. Like internally, that's where it kind of goes crazy. But yeah, I absolutely love skin boosters. Amazing. They're like fillers, but thinner, smaller,
like
molecular.
Profilo.
Like Profilo, but Profilo will be 5 points. I get Profilo. Profilo is amazing, but like some skin boosters are basically all over the face.
Oh, like Aqua Gold kind of thing.
Kind of, yeah. So it there's loads of different brands that do it, and it's even smaller molecular size than Profilo, and it just gives the glow to the face. That is amazing. Fillers on cheeks, amazing. Love it to lift up the face, because I was in a conference years ago, 2013. So I would have been 10 years younger than I am now. And I was sitting with a couple of doctors and dermatologists, and I was being like a model because one of them were stuck. And one of the doctor was like, see where the fat is starting to fall from underneath her eyes? And I was sitting there. Yeah, thanks very much for that. So they're all of these little things, it's just doing them for the right reason, everything in moderation, understanding what each treatment is and why it's
well,
so
and going
important.
to someone bloody good, right?
Yeah. And someone You can have an injector that will inject really well, but if they don't understand your face,
Yeah.
or they have an idea about how your face should look like, then it can go wrong. So you might have some injectors that actually every single face will look the same.
Okay.
And you'll see it on Harley Street, where like they're coming out with the same face. It's because the injector has this idea of what a face should look like instead of enhancing your features. So that's a key thing as well. Like the person I use, she is, okay, this is your feature, this is where you're starting to drop, this is where we'll start to pick up a little bit more. Instead of going, all 6 points should be like treated.
And you kind of mark them with a template. It doesn't work, does it?
No, like you do, it has to be individual, and it has to be someone with, it's like someone into art. They're into like looking at your face and going, how can I improve that without changing your face?
And who knows you, I think you build up a relationship, don't you? Which is why I think it's helpful to go to the same person, obviously.
Oh, definitely.
You know, rather than going shopping around.
Yeah.
And they see how your face moves.
Exactly, and they know you. And also as well as they will tell you, you've had enough now.
Yes.
Because if you don't...
That'll do.
Yeah, if you don't have that, you can really go down slippery. I remember we had a nurse that worked for me in the Dublin clinic years ago, and she was saying, we went to ACE conference in this was a long time ago, and she was saying, oh, you know, people, everybody there, their faces are absolutely plastic. And I was like, so she was getting injected in her lips by a doctor, and she didn't realise. Because you can't, she's an injector, she recognises other people going too much, but at the exact same time, she was going, I just need a little bit more on my lips, and they were becoming terrible. And the reason why is you look at your face every day, you get used to it. Yeah. You don't see the out of proportion because you're used to it. So you need someone from an outside perspective to go, that's enough.
Calm down enough.
Exactly, yeah. We went off topic.
We did. End Collective. So yes, I have guest speakers coming on, masterclasses. I approach a different topic each month, and I've tried to do it so that, because I know lots of women are really overwhelmed by content and information, so I've just tried to distill it all down into just the stuff that works.
Yeah.
Women just want results.
Yeah.
It's like with the Botox. They just want somebody who can do it well and do it in as short as time as possible.
Yeah.
And so that's what it's all about. And then added to that, within the same platform, is a community, because I think for a long time that's the bit of the menopause puzzle that has been missing. You know, women want to talk to other women who get it, who get them, who understand what they're going through, who can be supportive and just listen and kind of swap stories without, scaremongering each other.
Amazing. And they are able to talk to each other, and then you put in on a regular basis some facts, some information, some... Oh,
exactly that. I do a live Q&A. I'm in the community all the time, so if there's any questions... Yeah, it's going really well, actually.
Yeah, it's a really good idea, because I do feel there is that still, like, I'm lost with menopause. Like, I don't know which way to treat or, what to go with it. And having... Because otherwise you have to either go to GP or go find a person and then make a consultation. You have to find someone and then see
if... It takes a long time.
Exactly. Whereas if you just have a community you can dip into and get other people's feedback as well. Yeah.
And it's all evidence-based. There's no woo-woo. There's no pseudoscience.
Yeah.
I only have practitioners on there who are the real deal. And I have a menopause doctor coming starting from June. Every month she's going to do an open clinic. Because I think there's a lot of women who are on HRT and they're like, Christ, I've got all these weird side effects happening, my GP's not helping me.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, that's really good, really good. So I the reason why I was saying it was, or asking you in, was because we have, as therapists, we have to treat a lot of people with menopausal skin. And menopausal skin has a lot of side effects, like premenopausal. It's not even menopause. Like you say, you start getting the symptoms, your skin starts getting drier, your collagen starts breaking down and everything. So I wanted to get your side of how we can help with menopause, like with clients coming in, suggestions of helping them, if like you said, exercising, better sleep, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
In terms of skin, you mean,
Yeah.
specifically?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think a balanced diet, protein. I see a lot of women who, because they are seeing body changes, they are on very restrictive, very fatty kind of diets. They're taking out carbs, they're taking out gluten, they're taking out dairy, and suddenly they're like, you know, they're kind of subsisting on not very much at all.
Yeah.
And it shows in your face. You know, your cells need carbs to turn over. They need the fats because of the membranes, you know, around each skin cell. They need, what's the other one? Protein. You need protein to actually, it's the building block, isn't it, of every cell in your body. So I think eating enough is really important.
Yeah.
Eating the right kind of things.
Yeah.
Avoiding alcohol. It's the obvious stuff.
Yeah.
You know, alcohol, I mean, it's terrible for things like acne and rosacea. It's very inflammatory.
Yeah.
Terrible for sleep.